Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again for another tabletop on GBGuns. Today we're taking a look at a special varmint build that I'm putting together for an article in Tactical Life magazine. You'll see the details coming up next on GBGuns. Those of you that have been with the channel for a while know that I'm not really a YouTuber. I'm a writer with a YouTube channel, and what I've done is taken some of the stuff I get my hands on for writing those magazine articles or web articles and put them on YouTube for those of y'all to see. So it's kind of cool, I think anyways, that you get to watch something and see something in action on YouTube, and then when the magazine comes out, see it in print form and get a little more detail than what I throw out in these videos. It's part of why I don't bother y'all with specs, because I know that's going to be printed anyways. Plus, if you're watching this, you have internet access, so use Google, find stuff out. Anyways, this is a varmint build that is done using parts from Luth AR. The objective here was to see what all a fully kitted Luth AR build would be like, both for handling, reliability, and then of course also for accuracy. A varmint rifle is one that can be as heavy as you want generally, and is meant for sustained high rate of fire, precise shots. Now when I say high rate of fire, I'm not talking about machine gun fire, suppressor fire, that kind of thing. I'm talking about being able to land a couple follow-up shots in a row without the gun overheating. So they typically have, like this, nice big bull barrel. You can see the barrel is the same diameter, actually slightly larger than the A2 flash hider. Yes, it's just a flash hider on here, but that's because at the end of 24 inches, there's really not a whole lot left coming out. So wasn't worried about that too much. See, nice deep fluting. Here's the Luth AR. This is chambered in 223. It's a 1 in 9 twist. It's got their triangular handguards. You can see rolls around there, which I think is pretty cool because it rests really nicely in the palm of the hand. Also rests really nicely on a bench or barricade or whatever you want to get steady with. This shape of handguard works really well for that, and it kind of reminds me a bit of the A2s and A1s that I had, well, the A1s with the triangular handguards that I shot as a cadet prior to going into the Army. You can see we've got, of course, a full-length gas system. That's a rifle-length gas system, makes for a nice, long, steady pulse. Give you an eyeball of the rest. I'm going to separate the upper and lower. My tabletop setup isn't exactly ideal for rifles, especially when they're this stinking long. But got a nice snug fit there. I think I'm going to whack that with a punch off camera and then come back to you once it's separated. And we're back. So, Luth AR. Company's been around a couple of years, but its founder was also the guy that started some very major AR brands back in the day. He sold them and took a few years off, and then wanted to get into just making different stuff. And different they do indeed make. Now, one thing they don't have of their own currently is a trigger or a receiver. So this lower receiver is by Windham Weaponry. See there? What Luth did make was, aside from the receiver and trigger, everything else that's on here. So this oversized bolt catch and release, which is awesome if you're like me and you learn the old school way of insert mag and thumb smack to drop the bolt. It's pretty hard to miss that paddle, and you notice that the reach for locking the bolt back is rather augmented as well. It sticks out a bit from the gun, makes it a lot easier to get to. I think that's a pretty cool feature. This grip, this is their chubby grip. You see it's got a thumb shelf there, rather thick in diameter, and it's got a rest for the palm of your hand. Makes for a very comfortable hold. Safety selector is not Luth AR. That one's actually from Night Fision. That is their night switch. You can see that little strip in there. That's tritium. A lot of people, when I posted this on social media, were like, "Oh, I think that's dumb. I don't get it. I'm just to the point." Really, for instructors, for mass training, for nighttime training, it makes a lot of sense to be able to see very easily where everyone is. I also like how thin it is, because it's not going to get bumped. You have to be deliberate on this one. It's not necessarily a speed switch, if you will. Got to be very deliberate. So I figure on a rifle like this, doing predator hunting, which might be done at periods of low light, having the rifle resting at the tree, or maybe since I have a couple varmint guns now, passing this to someone else, I can look over and very easily see the safety condition of this. So that's why I like that. The trigger, which you notice there's no trigger guard, is from Jarred, and it is amazing. Got 0 pre-travel. It just breaks. Reset, breaks. It is awesome trigger for timing your shot to be exactly when you want it. Don't have a trigger guard on here because the trigger itself is a little too long for any of the trigger guards that I had on hand when I put this together. So that, you know, if there weren't a safety, might be an issue. Really, this gun isn't going to be chambered and off safe unless my hand's already there and I'm taking shots. So I'm not too worried about it. I will eventually get something on there though. The stock is from Luth AR. This is their modular buttstock. We're running a rifle length buffer system, which is cool. If you're not familiar with the different buffer length systems on ARs, it can have a similar effect to the different gas systems. So when you have a real long tube for that to run, the bolt doesn't bottom out, and so you end up with smoother recoil because it's just running back and forth, and never slamming. You combine this with the rifle length gas system we have in the upper, and it's a really smooth shooter. In fact, I know because I've already shot this in preparation for that article. So the stock, to get back to it, we've got a nice flat bottom to be able to rest on something or sit in a bag. It's narrow enough to be able to kind of cut in and grip that spot in the bag for precise shots. If you like to have your left hand tucked underneath, you've got a nice contour for that. And then you notice these knobs here. It's because the length of pull and the cheek riser is adjustable by simply loosening those knobs. So pretty cool adjustability there built in. Fortunately, at least for me, length of pull is the only thing I'd have to worry about, since I'm using this worn scope mount, which has the mount pretty much at ideal height for resting your cheek on a standard stock. So I run this cheek riser all the way down. If you don't have one of those mounts and you end up finding you need to be a little higher, then this cheek riser could come in handy. So that's the lower half. Back to the upper where we began, and this is all Luth, minus of course the optic and mount. I wanted to show you the way the handguard mates up to the upper receiver. Right there, we have no step. Everything is very cleanly done. Beautiful, rich anodizing color on this upper receiver. And you notice that the handguard wraps onto the upper receiver in a way that prevents any shifting. So that's pretty cool. Going to keep things good and tight there. Other than that, it is a generally mil-spec. We have their bolt and carrier, which has a nice rich finish to it, and a standard GI style charging handle. But putting it all together with this long gas system and long buffer system, it is a really smooth shot. See if I can manipulate it for you on camera. See, it's just glides. Everything is really smooth. Part of that is having that longer tube back here, then excellent machining in that upper receiver. And when you're firing, having that long rifle length gas system really smooths out the recoil impulse. And that's important on something like this because that lets you stay on target. The main deal with something like this is if you need a quick follow-up shot, you don't want to have to be searching all over for where your last hit was. And between the stock and gas system and the weight of this gun, as well as the rather flat bottom handguard and flat bottom rest on the back of the stock, this gun sits super stable. And you'll see that in the shooting impressions video when that comes out. But just wanted to give you a peek and a look at these because I remember the Luth AR stocks coming out and seen them in some magazines and things. The chubby grip I'd never had my hand on, and of course the oversized paddle I had seen but not used yet, and so now I've had a chance to do that. My full comments on that will be in the shooting impressions video, and then of course the rest of everything will be in the article. Thanks for joining us.